Hello, everybody. I hope that everybody is able to see us and hear us. Please give us a thumbs up or down to make sure that we don't have any technical
Yeah,
issues. So we can give a go ahead.
just sees a black screen.
Um, let's see. I'm sure I'm sharing.
I
Maybe
mean, I
this.
can see James here. At least his video. Hey, James.
Let's see. Maybe there are other. James, can you see the screen? Yes. Okay. So maybe Dr. Phil. I don't know if you have two screens. Maybe it went to a different screen. I wonder, if that's the case. We're going to also record this, so in case you miss anything, you have any technical issues, we can go ahead and send you the link to the recording. But I'm going to start off just by, um, you know, kind of like opening up the presentation here about the educational series that we're going to go through the next couple of weeks. If you don't know who I am, my name is Camila. I am part of the digital integration team here with Opulent. I am a dental technician and I have been in the dental industry for a little bit over 7 years. And I am from Brazil originally, so is Enzo. So we have that fun fact about us. And our goal here is just to start, like going through that CAD/CAM process. And we hope to actually, be a guide for you guys as we go through the series. We thank you for your time. We're going to try to make it short because we understand that your time is valuable.
Like Camilla said, we are starting this educational series. I'm not going to repeat everything, just a quick presentation on my end. Enzo, also from Brazil. My background in the dental industry, I've been working specifically in dental for the past 3 or 4 years. But on the family background, pretty much everyone from my family is dental related. My family owns a lab business, and my dad is also a dentist, so kind of grown up inside this world.
Alrighty. And so throughout the series, what we're going to go through is a guide through how to create a digital dental lab. Whether it is the scanning, the design, the manufacturing, and the delivery portion of it, we're going to walk you through from A to Z. And we're going to break it down in very short, quick steps on how to get there. And we hope that you stay tuned with us.
Whenever we start talking about moving from analog to digital, it might seem all too overwhelming, right? So whenever we start thinking about it, we are used to doing impressions. Now you have to watch for scans. Do you do intraoral scans? You do tabletop scanners. Then after that, you got to think about 3D printer. There are probably, I don't know, 50 different types of 3D printers out there. After 3D printing, you have to think about milling machines, another 50 types of milling machines that you can think of. After milling machines, you got to think about sintering ovens, glazing ovens. You got to think about a whole bunch of stuff. And at the end of the day, our goal here, as Opulent in general, is to help you guys figure out what are you going to need depending on what you want to do, right? So the main goal today, we're not going to talk specifically about each equipment. We are just going to focus on the workflow. So at least our goal today is that you come out of this webinar, this 20-25 minutes, knowing what are the steps in digital and at least what equipment you need on each step. Just a simple overview, right? And on the next episodes, then we're going to focus on each part of it.
All right. So where do we begin with so much information that we have? Just like, Enzo mentioned, scanners, intraoral scanners, desktop scanners, milling machines, 3D printers, sintering ovens. Where do we start? Well, we start from the beginning. understanding, like our analog way of doing things. We start with the prep, with an impression. And if you don't have an in-house lab, you're probably sending the impression out, and the lab is then pouring your model, doing a wax up, and delivering whether it is a temporary or a final restoration. And this is the workflow that we're always following. We're beginning with the analog knowledge that we have.
Now we have, like like in every aspect of life, you have options, right? You don't have to jump right in, do a full-on digital lab or a full-on digital clinic. You can go step by step, right? And we're going to call this a 50-50. You're doing 50% analog and 50% digital. How does that look? Like Camilla said, you're always going to start with prepping the patient, prepping the case. And me and Camilla, we rehearsed this presentation probably 3 or 4 times. And I've always repeated this. Having a dad as a dentist, I think I've heard this probably 1,000 times, that 75% of the case of success depends on the doctor's prep. So that's always going to be one of the most important aspects of the whole workflow. Doesn't matter if you're doing digital or analog, right? So you're still going to have to focus a lot on the prep. The lab is still going to have to check the prep if the prep is good. We all know this reality, right? After prep, if we're talking about this 50-50 workflow, you're going to still do your impressions. You're going to still do the pour the model and do the segmentation of the model. And now is where things start to get a little bit different, right? Instead of doing manual wax ups, you're going to scan the model. And to scan the model, that's when you're going to use either a tabletop scanner, just a general review, tabletop scanner that you're going to put it on the table, you place the model there, it's going to scan the model, right? What you are doing, you're basically turning your physical model into a 3D image, right? With that 3D image as a reference, you're going to design your case. And that's where you really start to see the benefits of doing digital. I can easily say that not even too experienced technician, but a mid-range technician, CAD designer, is going to be able to design a crown easily under 3-4 minutes per crown. We even have services that are delivering full arches in under an hour of design. So if you compare that with the manual work, that's when you really start to see the benefits of it. That's where digital is really going to play a difference for you. After you design, then you start to have some options. If you want to reprint the model, you don't need to, because you have the plaster model in this case. So you're going to send the case directly to mill, right? When you're going to mill, you're going to have a range of different materials that you can choose from. We're not going to focus on this today. We're going to focus on this when we do the mill section, the mill webinar. You're going to mill, you're going to do a little bit of post-processing, and you finish the restoration. You have aesthetics, you have your ceramics, and then you finish the restoration. So prep, impression, plaster model, then you go digital.
All right. And the next option then is going fully digital, right? That's 100% digital, from A to Z. So we, of course, start with the prep. And now we're going to have a digital impression. So we're using a intraoral scanner. From there, we're going through the design, mill, or maybe a 3D printer, and restoration. So the nice thing and the beauty of doing it digitally is that in order for me to be 100% digital, I don't have to have A to Z. I don't need to have all parts of it together. I can start off with just an intraoral scanner. And there are so many services that, today, so many providers providing your design services like Enzomation. Some of them will actually have a turnaround time of an hour or 2 or 24 hours. So you could outsource the design, you could outsource the mill, or you could have a 3D printer in-house. So however you want to, start off and put the workflow together, the CAD CAM, actually can meet you right where you are. You don't have to have everything, but you can be 100% digital with, starting off with the intraoral scanner, or you can have everything in-house and go A to Z and basically process everything 100% in-house.
Now let's think about how to compare those three workflows, right? So let's talk about conventional, 100% conventional, 50-50, 100% digital, right? And let's try to do a fair comparison between all of them and see what would a timeline of a restoration look like, right? And this, I mean, if we're saying something that doesn't represent the reality, you guys raise your hand, we'll let you talk. That's the that's the whole point of this. So conventional way, appointment number one, like for every other type of workflow, you're going to do the prep, you're going to take impression, you're going to do a temporary restoration, send the patient home, right? That's pretty much the standard day one of a restoration. Conventional, we know for a fact and from experience that a lab work will take anything between 8 to 10 days to get delivered, right? I don't think we are too far from reality here, right? So that gives us already over a week. If everything goes right, we're talking about a best case scenario here. We don't have any rework, any redos, any adjustments, not anything. You get your patient ready. The patient goes back in about 2 weeks to finalize the case, and then he's all set, ready to go, right? So we're talking about 2 weeks of treatment. Let's call it treatment, right? When you do 50-50, right, the starting is exactly the same. So doctor is going to prep the patient, take the impression, do a temporary restoration, then he's going to start the lab work. On the lab work, the very first step, like I mentioned before, you're going to digitalize the model. So now you have a 3D image of the model. You can design, and that's when where again you see the benefits. Not only about time. I'm not going to talk only about time. I'm going to talk about communication as well. So the lab can send to the doctor, or if it's an in-house lab, they can talk to the doctor, and you already have a preview of how the case is going to look like at the end. So you avoid, of course you're not going to avoid 100% of redos, you're not going to avoid 100% of everything that could go wrong, but at least you have a preview of what it's going to look like, right? And that lowers the time. And after you're done, like I said, designing is much faster. You're going to mill, and just to throw some numbers here, if you're going to do, just for example, a full arch, you're going to take anything between 3 to 4 hours to mill, another 10 hours roughly to center. So on the next day, you have it ready to do the aesthetics, and you can finish a full arch in 24 hours. Let's say 48 to give it a little bit of time. So you have model plus the digital part, you can end up having the final restoration in 7 days. So you're jumping from 2 weeks to 1 week now, doing half and half, half a digital, half analog. Now, if you go 100% digital, right? What are the possibilities? Your lab can start to do, or you as a lab can start to do the case, start to work on the case right after the doctor finishes the scan. So they can send you the scan. You're going to already start designing. You can send them a preview. There are some cases that the doctor will talk to the patient with a pre-design ready, so they can get some sort of an approval. Again, lowering the chances of a rework, setting the expectations of everyone at the same level, so you can continue the case with more, let's say, safety assurance that everything is going to go right, right? And if we think about the workflow, so scan, design, mill, center, finish the case, we have, and probably everyone heard, we have a lot of doctors offering the same day restoration, same day crown, or even 48 hours full arch restorations. We are seeing more and more of that every day. So just on this basic comparison, we can bring think about the patient, right? So I think we are all here as a business, but also for the patients at the end of the day. So imagine if you, as a patient, have to go this Monday, 2 weeks from there. Imagine if you're traveling in to see a dentist, going back and forward 2 weeks can be a long time. Imagine if you have the option of doing 1 to 2 days, or imagine if you, as a lab, can provide your doctor this possibility, so they can provide this to the patients. I think that's the point of the whole digital, right? To provide these flexibilities.
Provide the options. Yeah, that's correct. And like when we think about kind of like wrapping up our conversation here, what are really my advantages of being digital, or starting with the digital workflow? I think first and foremost, it's definitely clinically efficiency and patient comfort, right? At the end of the day, we know that taking a impression, it's not the most comfortable thing for the patient, also for you as the dentist, or maybe the assistant doing it. So it is a very efficient way of doing things. We want to also like emphasize how the learning curve has actually have gained a lot of technology and had advanced so much. In the beginning, used to be such a concern of, oh, how can I train my staff? If I'm a lab, like what if someone leaves and I need to actually, retrain like someone else? The software has gotten so much smarter and it is so much easier to learn that that's not a concern anymore. Third thing is communication between the practice and the internal staff and the lab. I mean, we don't need any more UPS and shipments. Like nothing needs to get lost, in the mail. Now it's just a matter of seconds between sending files. We're speeding up the process, and we're actually eliminating the margin for error here. And then one other thing is the patients and the doctor and the client, between the patient, the doctor, and the lab, setting up the expectations. Because if you are the patient, there's just so much information out there. I can Google anything and I can educate myself on it. That as a patient, I would love to go to, like an office that offers all the technology. If you are a doctor also, like you are way more informed now about the restorative side of things. So now you and the lab are communicating in a way that is like virtually, can be done live, even if you're not in the same location. So the expectations, I think, of the entire team that is working together can be achieved. And let's not forget about the predictability of the results, having control and having consistency. And that's what the CAD can provide to you, because we know how the accuracy of the digital workflow of the intraoral scanners, of the milling machines, have come so far, and compared to analog ways of doing things. And since we're cutting off time, we're speeding the process. Time is money. The more patients you see, like the more money you can put in your pocket. So it's basically a win-win for all parts, whether you're a patient, you are a clinician, or you're a lab technician who is actually like providing all of the work, all of the service, and making that ecosystem work in a very friendly and efficient way.
So at the end of the day, before you really start to think about adding a digital workflow or not, there are some questions you should be asking yourself. Like before you decide to purchase or not, I think the very first question you have to ask yourself is, what type of restoration are you currently doing or intending to do? Are you a small case, so you're doing only crowns, small bridges, or you're doing big full arches? Do you do metal? Do you not do metal? Do you do most ceramics? Do you do metal ceramics? What type of cases run your day to day? Like, what's your day to day look like? Second, what materials are you using or planning to use? Like I said, do you plan on using metal? Do you do a lot of metal bars? Do you do a lot of veneers? Do you do ceramics? Do you do zirconia? Do you want? Why are those two questions important? Those two questions, they're gonna pretty much define the type of equipment you're looking like. So focusing on the milling side, You have mills that are 4Xs that are for single crowns, 5Xs that are for bigger archers. Again, we're going to talk about that specifically on the mill webinar. It's just a glimpse, right? Question number 3, what is the workload for the system? Basically, how much do you plan on using? How many crowns you want to run it in a day? Because that will depend. If you tell me, okay, I need to run 300 crowns a day, I'll tell you, okay, you're looking at 3 to 4 mills a day, 3 to 4 mills at least to run your operation. I know I'm only gonna need 3 or 4. Okay, so you don't need that big of a mill. You can get something smaller that fits into your office or into your lab much easier. So that will help you plan your workflow. Question number 4, I think honestly, on a personal level, on a professional level, on whatever level, should be the most important one you ask yourself. How much time and effort are you willing to put in to make it work? Right? Like we've been saying, changing from analog to digital, it is not simple. It is not something that you're gonna get used to in a week or two. I'm not gonna lie to you. The I mentioned a little bit the family lab. It took us about a year and a half to really say, okay, now we are 100% digital, right? So that's the honesty. How much time are you willing to put it in? So are you gonna tell me, oh, I'm only gonna spend half an hour a week thinking about digital? I'm not gonna recommend you to purchase a mill. That's not gonna work for you. You're not going to be happy, and we are not going to be happy with you because you're probably going to run into a lot of problems, and you're not going to say good stuff about us to your friends. And we want you saying good stuff about us to your friends, right? That's the honest truth. Question number 5, what is your goal? Do you want to have control of your cases in terms of like what is your main objective? Do you want to talk about money? Do you want to just make money out of it, or do you want to control the quality? Do you want to have pre- help me
Predictability.
here, Camilla? Predictability. There you go. Or do you want to have predictability, right? Again, this helps us design your workflow with you. That's our job. That's my job and Camilla's job. And at the end of the day, the question that everybody has in mind, what's your budget? If you tell me you have $500,000 to invest in the lab, I'm going to be really happy about it, to be honest. And we're going to design one type of lab. If you tell me you have 50,000, 20,000, 15,000, we have options to fit all those budgets. I think that's the main point. So whatever budget you have, I mean, if you have $100, it's going to be a little bit harder, but whatever budget you have, you have options to get into digital. It can
Yeah.
be easy, it can be not too expensive, but it also can be the top of the line. You have options all through that, and that's our job here to help you through all of that.
That's right. And because we said we are going to keep it short, we were going to stop it right here today. It was just a basic understanding of, like what does it look like going from analog to digital? Um, how can I start? What parts of it can I be involved? And where do I actually want to be part of it? Do I want to just start with my intraoral scanner and I'm going to continue working with my lab? My lab is, doing a great job. They are digital, and I'm just going to jump in and continue to, like use it and be part of that digital workflow. Or maybe I do want to start, investing in having a basic design software so I can teach my assistants to on it. So basically, it was just an overview of what it can look like, and moving forward from next week on, we're gonna break it down in each separate part of the process, starting with the scanners, tabletop scanner or an intraoral scanner. So we're gonna go through that in the next step.
Rounding up everything, like we said, we wanted to keep it short. Our goal was to keep it under 25. We have 20 seconds for this slide. But you guys have our contacts here. One really important thing for every attendee, we are having special promos. So we're not going to talk about them here. You guys can write down our contacts here. You have my number and Camilla's number. You have our email. You have our website. If you want to just take your time, don't worry, we're not going to end in exactly at 25 minutes, but write down the numbers. Contact us to know what the promos are. We're going to talk to you, and hopefully, we keep this relationship going.
Yeah, we thank you for your time, and like Enzo said, be sure to check our website, contact us with any questions that you might have. We would love to hear more about what do you want to see, in this series. What part of the process do you have questions? So then we can make sure to implement that in the next portion of it. We thank you for your time and hope you all have a great weekend. Bye bye.